You're actually normal.
Irina is one of the first friendly characters you'll encounter in TheSurge. An engineer and born survivor, she would prevail until eventually losing her mind and attacking Warren, forcing him to mercy kill her. So what happened to her? I would argue that Irina is a victim of the rogue process, but in a slower way, similar to Johnny Silverhands and V in Cyberpunk 2077. During TheSurge, Irina was knocked out like everyone else, but unlike everyone else, Irina's mind was merged with someone else from the security sector, allowing her to wake up. The reason I say this is that Irina is surprised at her skills for surviving so far when meeting Warren, calling herself a born survivor. In reality, this was likely the first symptom, as Irina likely never saw combat until now. She was also shown not wearing any type of armor and using a pole, a weapon we see other CREO security officers using. When we see Irina again, we see that she's gotten a lot more comfortable with combat, even showcasing that she's just lounging around as a Purifier CREO security unit is starting to walk towards us, but hints that she's been hearing voices, which is not a good sign. Most importantly, she secured Gorgon armor, which was only held by security forces, despite not having any of this armor when we first meet her. I just guess that she either scavenged the armor, but most likely she killed someone to get it, as in TheSurge we see that the only way to obtain armor, at least gameplay wise, is to kill for it, and likely she had to defend herself against CREO security. It's the third encounter that things start to get weird. Irina takes a second to recognize Warren despite meeting him multiple times and him being the reason that she survived for so long. And she also makes note that her head has been hurting. Most importantly, she states that she is part of security and makes mention of her uniform being misplaced despite never having one. Other than the small number of Gorgon armor pieces, which is what security wears, they also wear a dark blue jumpsuit, and she's been wearing a dark green outfit. TheSurge does place a lot of emphasis on these outfits, as Warren wears different outfits as he starts to advance his exosuit, eventually getting a much more advanced outfit. So she should be wearing a blue outfit if she was part of security, as we've seen that every security officer we've encountered all wear blue jumpsuits. Most importantly, she's never seen around other security forces who have been seen to be nearby other CREO security or security mechs. When Warren confronts her about their first meeting of her telling him she was an engineer, she debunks this by saying she couldn't even tighten a screw, but this is untrue. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but when you kill Irina, we get a weapon called the Peacekeeper, and during New Game Plus, we can give this weapon to Irina, and she notes on its design and all its components. She took the staff that Warren gave her at the beginning, which was likely a CREO security staff, and made it much more powerful, making note of all the components by just looking at it, something that only an engineer would be capable of doing. When we meet Irina for the final time, she barely knows Warren and states that Irina isn't even her name. Looking at the room that she's in, there is actually a lot of clues here if you look for them. First off, the room is locked from the inside, which is very weird, and the only way in is through the maintenance area. Most importantly, she's guarding a art exhibit. This is weird, as everyone else is guarding important areas such as the boardrooms, servers, and main hallways, so there's no reason they would put a guard in the art exhibit. I guess that when she saw security officers and Cerberus mercenaries going to kill Mallory, which Irina tells Warren she saw happening, what was left of her conscience locked herself in the room for protection, because Irina is originally an engineer. She's not a combat specialist, so she likely saw them do this and thought they were going to attack her, so she locked herself in the inside of this art exhibit. However, it's here that Irina lost herself completely, forgetting Warren, her position as an engineer, and defaulting to whoever's mind was taking her over, which, as I stated, is likely a security officer. Whether this person's mind was aware of what they were doing to Irina or it was just happenstance is left a mystery. In short, Irina was an engineer for CREO, but during the initial surge where the rogue process absorbed the minds of many of the staff within the facility, Irina survived but was merged with a security officer. She would attempt to survive with Warren's help, but over time Irina would lose herself, her mind being overtaken by whoever this person was, with Warren having to put her down as she attempts to kill him in the final encounter they have. In a lot of ways, Irina may seem like the Halloween situation from the Dark Souls franchise, but I would argue it's more in line with what happened with V and Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk 2077. And as I stated, while we'll never know whether this person's memory would have overtaken Irina completely, or maybe she would end up like the feral people we encountered throughout TheSurge is left in the air. Regardless, Warren having to put her down was probably a mercy, considering that she was suffering with so many conflicting emotions and memories, and eventually it would probably have combined to something unhealthy. Either way, Irina was one of the best characters in the game. She was helpful and one of those safe faces that Warren would see throughout his adventure. It's unfortunate that this ended the way it did, but perhaps in some way or another Irina would thank Warren for what he did for her.